few things going on. I think since All-Star break, I was dealing with a lot of low back stuff. Kept me out for a little bit there, and kind of one of those things where it didn't really go away for a while, and when it did, it was pretty short, and it came back pretty quick. So that, and then had hip pointer with that injury in Jersey, and shoulder the last game in Ottawa. So a little banged up there at the end, but something that everyone goes through. So.
Especially, I mean, since you couldn't beat yourself almost, it has to be even more. I mean, for team-wise, you only missed by 2 points. You didn't get to your 50. I mean, there are a lot of things that, you did the best you could, but.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's always more you can give, and it's a tough one to swallow the way things ended. But I think it leaves you that much more hungrier, I should say. Heading into next season, there's things and goals, that I'm going to have as an individual, and obviously we'll have as a team.
Does the pride in how far forward you guys have moved this team, this organization, outweigh how close you guys missed the playoffs by?
I mean, that's a loaded question. Obviously, not making playoffs sucks, and the way I think we didn't make playoffs sucks even more because of how close we came. And looking back at the season, certain games we could have closed out and gotten points makes it that much tougher to swallow. But I think at the same time, it gives us a good perspective moving forward on. The course of the season is very long, and there's games that we lost that I think we lost and carried it over into the next game and the next game, and I think we turned one loss into three. And I think that's something that we now know as a group, that it's not the end of the day when we lose a game, and I think that's going to be a big part moving into next season. Early on, obviously we're going to lose. It's going to happen, and I think being able to drown that out and move on and go over that loss quicker is going to be something that we learned from this year. And like I said earlier too, I think that hunger, how close we got to making playoffs this year, I think is going to be a big piece moving forward.
Along those lines, Tage, the last 12 games we went 9-2-1. It came after the Nashville game when most people probably thought it was over outside this room. You guys played a more mature game. How much does that help you guys going forward the way the last 12 went?
Yeah, a lot, and I think it gives us. I think it gives other people outside looking in a greater perspective or respect of how much pressure we had in those last 12 games or whatever it was, and the way we were able to kind of handle that and get to our game and stick with the game plan. And I think look back even a little earlier than that, a lot of people probably thought our season was over well before that, and I think it just speaks to the character we have in the room. I think everyone in here believes what we're capable of, and I think that's the most important thing. As long as we got guys buying in between these walls, I think that's a pretty special thing to have for a team.
You entered the season with expectations, Tage, after the way your last season went. Kind of accomplishment is it to not only match it but exceed it in a lot of ways and take another step in your own game?
Yeah, it's definitely a good feeling to know that the goals that I set out at the beginning of the season for myself individually, that I met and surpassed them, is something that's nice, and now it just gives me another bar to chase for next year and to continue to push and see how much better I can get.
Tage, other teams, they're defensing you. They're saying, look, this guy's not going to beat us. I mean, you've earned that status now. What have you learned from that now that you played against that, when other teams are saying, hey, we're going to make sure he doesn't beat us type of thing, and you got to play through that. What have you learned through all that?
I think it just teaches you how to add certain aspects to your game. I think, when teams start keying in on you or pre-scouting you a little different, then you got to bring something else to the table and find a way to produce, find a way to impact the game if you're not showing up on the stat sheet. So it's just something that I think's helped me round out my game, and it's going to continue to help me add things to my game.
Owen has told me that you're his biggest off-ice mentor. What have you tried to teach him as he grows into a pro, and how have you seen him grow as an adult this year?
I think I've seen him grow a ton, and I don't think it's me. I think it's just the kind of kid he is. He's got so much talent and so much hunger to learn and get better, and I think it's just a genetic internal drive that he has. He wants to be the best player on the ice, and he knows he's capable of it, and I think that's something that's pretty special, and that's obviously why he was picked first overall. And I think he's only scratching the surface, but he's just a such a good kid, and there's not anything you could say bad about him. Just does everything the right way, and I think it's just something that's pretty special to be a part of his early career and to be able to watch him and see where he goes with it.
Tage, when you guys went through that tough stretch in March and came out of it well, Don kept repeating that they need to learn from this. They need this moment to come out, to be able to come out of it better. What do you feel that you guys learned as a team throughout that stretch and this ending stretch that went so well?
I think one of the biggest things is just how to handle pressure. I think obviously at certain points you're going to feel different kinds of pressure, and it's all about how you perceive it. And do you let it fuel you, or do you let it overcome you and kind of be your downfall? So I think that's something that some point throughout the season we let be our downfall, and sometimes we're on the right side of it. And I think that was a good learning lesson for us moving forward, especially now that we're going to be I think in playoffs every year from now on. We're going to face pressure at certain points of the season, and it's how do we overcome that? And I think this group has faced our fair share of pressure throughout the season and done a pretty good job with it.
What's it going to be like to go into next season having that expectation of playoffs?
I think it's good. It's not a surprise. I think you look at the beginning of this season, I think there's probably mixed comments on whether or not we had the capability of being a playoff team this year. And I think there's no questions now. I think we've kind of cemented the belief, at least in our room, that we are a playoff team and that we deserve to be there, and that if we're not there, it's our own fault. And I think prior to this year, there's probably not everyone fully on the same page. I mean, I'm sure everyone believed it was a possibility, but I think the belief is a little more firmly cemented now.
Tage, you've been in several of these locker cleanups now in this organization. Sometimes it was which guy wants out, doesn't want to come back, which coach or GM is getting fired. What's it like feeling the stability you guys have now throughout this whole organization?
It's phenomenal. I think you could go around to every guy in this room, and I think just about everyone say they want to be back here and that they're excited for what we're building here. And I don't think that's by coincidence. I think it's comes from up top, and obviously the coaching staff and what they've been instilling in this room, and our leaders and everyone just buying into that. And I think you can see the way things are starting to trend here. At least we know it in this room, and I think people on the outside are starting to see it as well. But I think there is a true belief behind what we're building, and we do know that we're building something special, and it's right around the corner. So
Is it key, too, that you guys encourage each other to show your personalities? I mean, nobody's afraid to be themselves type of thing around teammates and that type of thing. I mean, Skinner has his little show there that he does that you were on there. Just, his personality shows out there. Is that important?
yeah, I think that's what makes a good team. I think you need everyone being themselves. You can't have guys that are uncomfortable to speak up or play their game. I think when you come into a locker room that's as open as we are, it just allows you to go out on the ice and play free and not think. And I think when you're going out there doing that, I think that's a recipe for success. So it starts with the locker room in here and the kind of guys we have, and the culture that we've created. And I think it's because we have so many good character guys.
Speaking of culture, do you care to break down the shrine that your locker has become this year?
This is just kind of something that started off with, Tucky right here. Saw it back in the skate room and figured he'd be better off right here next to me. And it's just something to have a little fun. He always inspires me. So, and then I think I got one of his cards up here, and Krebsy wanted to get in on the action, so he gave me one of his WHL cards, which he thinks is the greatest league ever. And then we've got Marty here, and this is Smurf back here. He's missing his neck. I just think there's something funny. I just like to have him up. They always put me in a good mood when I see him. So
By next year, you think some of your teammates will add to it?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, I was hoping I'd get at least a few more. So look forward to that next season.
As someone that goes way back with Greenway, obviously he's been injured down the stretch, but what do you think this locker room provides him in a reset, and how do you think he's embraced it?
Yeah, I think it's a great spot for him. I think for anyone, honestly, coming that still thinks they have something to prove, which I believe he feels he does, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think there's obviously a lot more that he's capable of, and I think everyone believes that. And I think he's going to get an opportunity here to show what he's capable of. And I think you've started to see, obviously he's banged up a little bit here in a short amount of time, but I think, his size, his strength, and, his ability to get on forechecks and disrupt plays. And I think he's going to be a great piece for our team, and, whoever plays with him is going to have a lot of time with the puck, hopefully. So.
Tage, what do you think about when you look at what this team has down the middle? I mean, you have you, Dylan, Peyton, and of course, Casey can step in and play center as well. What kind of benefit is that to this group to be that strong down the middle at this point?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think not only down the middle, but you look up and down our forward group, I think you can put anyone with anybody in. They gel pretty good together, which is important, I think, because you're going to run into situations throughout the season where, might fizzle out for a stretch and you're just not feeling it, and you got to jumble up lines. And I think that ability to be flexible and play with anybody is something that is really important, especially in winning teams. You look at those teams, they're able to mix their lines up, and I think that's something that we have the ability to do.
Is it going to take a while for your body to heal before you can start getting into your off-season training?
I'm definitely going to give it some time for sure. Probably won't start getting back into it until June. Take the month off and kind of just rest up and get my body feeling 100% again before I start doing things. Just get things quiet down before try to start the training up again.
Tage, when you talk to other players around the league, do you notice that the perception of Buffalo and the Sabres is starting to turn a little bit?
To be honest with you, I don't really talk with a lot of guys outside our group too often, but I think you can sense, at least when you play against certain teams, the respect that they have for us now. It's not an easy game, and I think teams come in with a little more respect, for our team as a whole, and they know they're not going to get an easy win or an easy 2 points out of it. So it's something that our group takes a lot of pride in knowing that, and I think it's something that we should be honored that teams are starting to respect us and realize that there is another level we can get to, though.